Today we're probably close to maybe 20 miles or so. A very happy Thanksgiving to you all. This is November 21st, 2018, and it is the fifth quarter podcast with Desmond and George. We're both back in Houston celebrating Thanksgiving with our families, respectively. And so it is no longer 438 miles. It's more like 400 or like I said, 20 minutes. So I'm George Coughlin, and alongside I have Desmond McLaughlin. Good afternoon, Desmond.
Good afternoon, George. Oh, it's weird to say.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. We've done, it seems like the last 3-4 weeks we've been doing this in the lunch break, but for us right now, I guess we kind of just both woke up.
Right,
so
right.
we're used to those late college hours, and nice to get a good night's sleep. It is episode number 12. 12 has a big significance in Aggie land, so I guess it's
Big 12, baby.
that too, and I think it's just fitting to go ahead and get started. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. So A&M took on the Blazers, UAB, at Kyle Field. Real good game. In fact, we started off so hot that some people coming just barely into the stadium almost missed the first score. That happened in the first seconds. Mond looked good, turnover free, no interceptions, no fumbles. Maybe got sacked once or twice, but the front seven looked real good on both sides, offense and defense. Braden Mann added to his average. Had a 65-yard punt again. So he's averaging 50.9 yards on per punt this season. And I think for Mon, he's got to be better. He's got to be more accurate against LSU if he and the Aggies want a chance to knock off LSU. I really think though Jimbo's got him on the right track to knock them off and beat them, and it helps that we're ranked too in the college football playoff rankings. That we're 22nd. LSU is 7th, so this will be a top 25 showdown at Kyle Saturday night. I'll be there. It'll be a fun one. I think with a win, we can get to a big bowl game, a nice, exciting Florida game, which would be exciting, fun, and could provide a really good opponent. And I think we've talked about it the whole entire episodes. Every episode we've done, we've talked about, we're going to look forward to LSU. We're going to look forward to LSU. So everyone's been waiting for this prediction, for my prediction on this. And despite LSU's ability to throw the ball this year, they have no ability to run. A&M will be forced into situations where they're going to have to protect the ball, throwing wise. They're going to have to play better secondary. They're going to have to step up bigger than they have this season. But I think the A&M defensive front seven is so good, too good, that they're not going to give Burrow enough time. And I think we finish out the regular season, beat LSU with a win. First time since 1995. I've got A&M 35, LSU Cajun Tigers 24. Desmond, what's your take on this week?
Well, George, not meaning to rain on your parade here, but I think that was definitely an easy win for y'all. Yes, UAB was about, it's 9-2 or whatever.
They were 9-1, and they were 25th.
Oh yeah, 9-1.
And they were ranked. They were ranked 25th in the coaches poll. So,
but
don't say it's an easy win. Don't say it's an easy
who do
win.
they play, George? Teams like
they beat my North Texas Mean Green.
Okay, North Texas, George.
They beat Louisiana Tech.
Put North Texas against Texas A&M, George.
Oh, that would be a good showdown. I'd love to see that.
Yes, you would like to see it, but I don't know if anyone else would. But y'all got the win. I mean, at least y'all bowl eligible. Texas Tech struggling to get that bowl game.
Hallelujah. I mean, we were bowl eligible after Ole Miss. So.
I know, yeah. But good win. I'm not surprised. But I was going to surprise you with my pick this week, but since you've already chose it, now it's not as surprising. But my upset watch this week was A&M beating LSU.
Okay. I love you jumping on the train all of a sudden.
I wasn't jumping on the train. I decided this before this.
Okay, well, you know what? You've been jumping on the Kyler Murray train every day of the week,
okay,
and not on Kellen Mond. So cut me some slack.
Kellen Mond is not Kyler Murray. That's why.
So what do you have as a score? What do you have as score prediction in the upset?
31-28. Close game. I think a late minute field goal will seal the game.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think it might. I do think though it will come down to a last possession. I don't know if it will be a touchdown or a field goal, but boy, it will be like that Monday night game we saw this week. Rams and Chiefs. But we'll get to that later, but my goodness, that was a heck of a game. I'll just say that right now. And another heck of a game and a big surprise was the fact that Texas Tech did not do so great in Manhattan, Kansas. What happened? Duffy didn't look good?
George, we weren't utilizing the players we had, George. I mean, Antoine Wesley and T.J. Vasher. Well, okay. Antoine Wesley only had. Hold on, let me look at this real quick. Where's my?
I mean, I told you, Desmond, last week. I said
28 yards, George. Before this, he was averaging about 120, 150 per game.
Okay, well, that's just good defense. That's just Kansas State adjusting and playing like they should.
But still, no. These numbers that Wesley was racking up was against other good teams like West Virginia, Oklahoma, Texas. He still was racking up over 100 yards. He had 28 yards, George.
Well, you know what they call these type of games, Desmond? Got 2 words for you. Trap games. You're looking too far ahead. If anything, Kingsbury was looking into that Baylor game. He's been looking to that game since week 1. You know, I don't.
Speaking of Kingsbury, do you still think he keeps his job? I know he said a couple weeks ago that he does, but he's looking on a pretty bad losing streak, and he's coming off a loss to Kansas State. You know, and if he loses to Baylor,
well, I don't know, Desmond. Look, let's examine this for a second. They lost to OU close.
Yes,
which I don't think we really people.
But as you said, many times when I talk about Arizona State, how they lose games, while they lost this week by 2. You said it doesn't matter how many they lose by; they still lost.
Correct. Okay, they lost to Texas by a touchdown in a game they probably shouldn't have even come back in. Then they lose to Kansas State by 12. No, yeah, by 12.
12, yeah.
21-9. Okay, they get run out of Manhattan, Kansas. Get run out of Kansas State, and then now you have to go to AT&T, go to Arlington, neutral site, play Baylor, and the mentality is, of course, we want to win because you want you want to be bowl eligible. But now it's not just is Kingsbury's job on the line. What is the mentality of this team? Is it like, oh, whatever, we're done. We're kind of like just playing what And remember, Baylor's trying to come into this game. They want to be bowl eligible too. They got smoked by TCU last week, and honestly, I didn't see that one coming. I know TCU's kind of been up and down, but please tell me, I'll give you $20 if you told me that TCU was going to beat Baylor last week. I mean, I don't think so. I really just I think this Baylor Texas Tech game will be a good showdown. But the mentality, what is each team's mindset? Is it, okay, we're going to try to get one more win. We're going to try to really put the season on the line. Or is it going to be, well, you know what, we're both going to lose our job.
Well, they definitely want to make a bowl game.
No,
without a doubt.
Without a doubt, they do want that one more game. But at this point, you're sitting 5-6. Kingsbury, I think he can't go one more 5 and I think I'm with you. I think if he's not careful, he might lose his job. But it wouldn't be after this season. It would be after the first 2 weeks.
I mean, George, how many times can you say that you were held without a touchdown in a Big 12 matchup? Aren't these Big 12 matchups supposed to be the offensive game? Supposed to have high scoring numbers?
Well, they are, but not always. I mean, you're going to get the occasional. More than likely, yes. You're going to get the occasional, defensive matchup. But Kansas State I watched 2 seconds of that game because I was in and out of Kyle Field, whatever. I watched 2 seconds of that game, and the 2 seconds I saw was Kansas State. It was that huge run play that they had in the third quarter or whatever it was. It was like a 30-yard gain. Texas Tech just did not look good, and that says something. That it doesn't just mean, oh, you lost offensively. You just lost, and now the mindset going into next week is, how do we bounce back? How do we get the team to come back on? Get your team back into a position to play and ready to go beat a so-called rival. I mean, I don't necessarily think that Baylor is the biggest rival y'all could have played on Thanksgiving. You could have played Texas again, but
Texas, yeah.
So I think I'm putting it this way: Duffy plays, Raiders lose. Red Raiders lose. Bowman, if he's healthy,
They put in McLean Carter, but he went 0 for 3.
Okay, is Bowman done for the season? Do we know? Like, do we know what his status is?
I'll check after this.
I mean, if he's able to play, I think Texas Tech can win. But if Duffy plays, which I'm assuming, I'm gonna change my pick here. Assuming that Duffy is gonna play, because I'm going with that fact that he's probably the starter this coming week.
Yeah,
I think the Raiders lose, unfortunately. I've got Texas Tech. I'm flipping my score. I've got Baylor winning 42-31.
I have hope. George have Tech 31-24.
And I see where you're going with that, and I definitely agree with where you're seeing it, but I just don't. I just don't see it. I think the inconsistency, and it's very much like what A&M had a few years ago. The inconsistency at quarterback, and you get a few injuries, and you get all of a sudden the team just kind of, you get a bad week. How do you bounce back from that bad week? And for A&M in November, it was you just kept losing. Hopefully Texas Tech can change it around, because 0-3 in November right now?
Yeah,
that's just not right. But speaking of teams that are not 0-3 in November, we had again no movement in the top 8. I'm sorry, top 8 did not move for the first 3 weeks, or again for 3 weeks in a row. But UCF is in the top 10. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm not surprised, George. They're undefeated. They've been undefeated. Like, I guess they kind of have a right to be top 10, but I don't see them moving up any further.
No, I agree. I think they showed the nation what they could do on Saturday night.
Yeah, against an okay team.
It wasn't like Eastern Carolina State. It was Cincinnati. Yeah. It was a good team that can beat you physically if you let them. And UCF, Milton, and that defensive secondary is going to be better than you and win. So I think right now, here's what I've got. Here's what I'm looking at. Unless we get some sort of upset between these 4 games, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Ohio State, Michigan, OU, West Virginia, and Notre Dame, USC, we're going to have our playoff teams right now. Unless we get some sort of upset,
because
your top 4 is going – okay, yes, you have the championship Saturday, which is next week, and you have all that. I still think the top 4 is going to be what the committee has said. Bama 1, Clemson 2, Notre Dame 3, Michigan 4. Unless we get some sort of upset, unless we get some sort of huge upset with Michigan losing to either Ohio State or losing – if they do make it to the Big Ten and losing to Northwestern.
Because Bama will probably win out.
Yes, and
that moves Oklahoma up to 5th. So I put that Oklahoma needs one more team to lose before they can make the college football playoffs.
Okay, so Bama would be 1. Clemson would probably win out, so they'll be 2. Okay, Notre Dame.
So
Notre Dame's going to beat USC, so they'll be 3. So then Michigan. It's all about that last.
So we have to have Michigan lose. I still think you should at least give Clemson a chance of losing too.
To Pitt?
Just saying.
To Pitt? They're playing Pitt in the ACC championship game.
Dude, I'm just saying.
Did you see what they did? Did you see what they did to Duke? And we said Duke was a pretty good team. I'm telling you, Desmond. Top 3 is not going to change, and this Michigan team is different from every other year. Harbaugh knows what he's doing. Harbaugh has finally showed that he has a what's the word? That he has his khakis on in the right way, because he's got this team this far and he's not going to choke. And seeing how Ohio State played against Maryland last week, to be honest, I don't even see them as a top 10 team. Maybe top 12, but not top 10. They should have lost that game to Maryland last week. Did you see how many yards on the ground they gave up, Desmond? They gave up like 375 yards on the ground. And Booger McFarland's son or whatever, Anthony McFarland or whatever it is, had like 275 of those. He had 3 TDs, and they were all 60 yards or more. Ohio State just was literally getting burned on the ground, but they still found a way to come back because Maryland had to use their backup quarterback. And that's just that right there. Maryland should have won, and they played Penn State this week, so hopefully they'll get a win. But continuing our conversation about the top 25, A&M is back at 22. Honestly, I didn't have them anywhere near the top 25. After losing 4 games, I mean, I'm a bit surprised that they're back, but looking at who else to rank, I guess you don't really have any other choices at this point in the season. So I'm glad to see them back, just a bit confused. Northwestern will get into the top 15. They're at number 19 right now, so they'll win this week. They'll get in the top 15 for the Big Ten championship game. And honestly, if they do it right, they could get into a New Year's Six bowl. Northwestern could. Right now, they're having Penn State would be the Big Ten. They're number 12, which is the lowest. Like that's the last ranked team that would get into the New Year's Six. And I really think Northwestern could get to number 12. If you know what I mean. I think Northwestern could get to number 12 and get into that New Year's Six. But right now Penn State is, and so if the season ended today and we looked at the New Year's Six games, here's what they would be. It would be in the college football playoff, it would be Bama versus Michigan in the Cotton Bowl, Clemson versus Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl, Georgia versus Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl, Ohio State, Washington State in the Rose Bowl, UCF, LSU in the Fiesta, and Penn State, Florida in the Peach. Which of those surprises you the most?
Well, it's not surprising me, but the one I'd like to watch is obviously the Georgia-Oklahoma one.
I would agree with you. I think that would be a rematch of the Rose Bowl last year.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it would be.
I think the one that actually surprises me the most is Ohio State, Washington State. I really like how I think that would be a really good matchup because Washington State can throw the ball. Ohio State can run it with J.K. Dobbins and with gosh, they've changed up quarterbacks in the last 4 years. I don't even know who Ohio State's quarterback is, but Haskins, Dwayne Haskins, that's it. And so that would be a good showdown. Why would you say of those 6, Georgia, Oklahoma would be the one you'd want to watch or you want to see?
Because it's Oklahoma.
Desmond, you're like the biggest OU homer I have ever met. I don't understand. It's just Kyler Murray. I mean,
I should say Oklahoma. I should say because it's Kyler Murray.
I mean, he's not going to win the Heisman. I mean, it's going to be Tua.
What do you mean he's not going to win the Heisman?
It's going to be Tua, so...
Most likely, yes.
Or Minshew, or Washington State's Minshew.
Wait, when did they decide the Heisman?
The finalists, or like the Heisman itself?
The Heisman itself.
I believe. Like
it's
the week after all the other awards, so it's like the 15th.
So it's after It's
after the playoff rankings. The playoff comes out, and all the bowl games. So you don't necessarily know, but you do know the finalists when we get before the bowl season starts. So it's like I think they're going to name 5 this year. So I believe that's going to be Kyler, Will Grier, Tua, Minshew, and then I'm trying to think of who number 5 would be. There's really no clear-cut 5, but you might just have those 4 quarterbacks too. So, anything you want to add about OU, Georgia, or any of the other potential New Year's Six bowls?
No, I just wanted to say I was surprised myself that A&M was still ranked.
Yeah,
me too.
I'm shocked. I'm when I saw it, I was like, what? They're ranked again? Like, it's just it's surprising because and we weren't just 25. We're over like Iowa State was 25, Pitt was 24, Boise State 23, and we're 22. Like, what? Just what? Like that does not make any sense to me. If anything, put the Aggies at 25. Don't put them at. Like, that's just what surprised me. I mean, I am an Aggie fan, and I will always be an Aggie, but please, like, don't try to hype me up, and then we're going to lose, and they're going to just knock us out of the rankings for good. Like, don't get my hopes up. At least make my hopes feel down, and then all of a sudden we get some surprise or something. Jeez. But speaking of surprises, 2018 provided us with a lot of fun sporting games and sporting events, and it is Thanksgiving. We're in that season. So Desmond, name your first. What are you first thankful for this 2018 year?
I'm thankful for the Boston Red Sox won their ninth pennant this year, George.
That's fair. I mean, I was gonna say I'm thankful that the Dodgers lost the World Series again because everybody loves somebody who chokes. So you can't do it against the Astros, but you can take the Astros to 7, but you can't take the Dodgers to 6, at least 6. You can only take them to 5. Like wow, just wow. I think I'm thankful for UMBC's upset over Virginia. That happened in March, and people forget about it. But you know what? It happened. The first 16 seed over 1 seed upset in the NCAA tournament. Sister Jean, you remember her for Loyola?
Yes.
You're not gonna like this one, but I'm thankful that Patriots didn't win the Super Bowl. Finally, nice to see a change for once. I'm thankful for the Texans' 7-game win streak.
I was just about to say that.
They are surprising me. I really thought this season was just going to crumble after the
Right.
0-3 start, and now we're 7-3 with the chance to actually compete for the AFC South, or the AFC in general. I'm thankful for Lee Corso and everything he does because he just makes college football. And speaking of which, I'm thankful for Rams Chiefs on Monday Night Football. That was the best NFL game I have ever watched. And yes, people are going to be criticized because they called it a Big 12 game. Well, you know what? The difference between Big 12 and the NFL is we don't ever get this many points in the NFL, and we get those points in the Big 12 like it's candy. Okay. So seeing the Rams and Chiefs both put up 50 points in literally a shootout, made my November. Even if the Aggies don't beat LSU, made my November. And then finally, my last thing was I'm thankful for all of a sudden for Zion Williamson, for Zion Williamson and buying into all this hype, because sometimes we get these guys out of high school that whatever, they're not that good.
Right,
Zion Williamson has literally lived up to the hype. His dunks, his threes, everything he's done has what we saw in high school. It's that you know what I mean? We're getting what we paid for. Was Zion going to Duke and just dominating the rim.
Well, George, you took 2 of my thankfuls, but I will still say them. I'm thankful for the Houston Texans being, don't get bad understands, but being one of the worst 7-3 teams in the NFL team.
No, you are right on the head. Right, you hit that one right on the head.
Thankful for Patrick Mahomes, Texas Tech, being one of the rookies of the century.
Of the century, wow.
Century, yeah. George.
No,
George.
I'm with you on that. No.
Yes.
No. I'm not.
Not saying he's the best, but he's up there. He's with them.
You know, sometimes I forget he's a rookie because
I think he's a rookie all the time. I'm like, what?
He's just that. I think he surprised us because sometimes you expect rookies to do good, but not that good. Look at Deshaun Watson. They were saying Deshaun Watson. If we compared Deshaun Watson to Mahomes last year, this year.
Before he got injured?
Well, yeah, before he got injured, Deshaun Watson was on the same path that Mahomes is. They were he would have had the same amount of touchdowns up to this point.
Wow.
If he hadn't gotten injured. And then but instead, Mahomes. So I'm glad that finally somebody is doing something in Kansas City too, because remember, we had Alex Smith who was kind of trash, and you have all those weapons. You have Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt. I mean, you just all Kansas City needed was a quarterback. You had everything there. You needed a quarterback, and of course, you get the Texas Tech product, who's a stud. That's all I can say about that. It's just a stud. Just wow. Yeah. Anything else you want to
add? Thankful for the triple threat: Tua, Will Grier, of course, Kyler Murray, and also George. Thank you for the Monstars led by Zion Williamson.
The Monstars. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And you know what? One thing that I would like to add. I'm thankful for I'm thankful for sorry Rockets fans, and sorry. I'm thankful for Carmelo Anthony leaving the Rockets because all of a sudden he left and we're back on the rise. I mean, things have gone right.
Yeah, but also I agree with that, but I don't think one guy should decide the whole team.
No, I agree with that. I think we all fell into the hype of when we saw Vegas decrease our odds of winning the NBA championship when Carmelo signed with the Rockets, and then we're like, oh, that's not true, and then of course we watch the Rockets play. We're like, yeah, that's true, and then of course you leave them and your odds go back up, and you see the team of old with Chris Paul and Harden, and yes, we need Trevor Ariza back, but I mean that's another story for another day.
We should have picked up Jimmy.
We should have. We should have picked up the asparagus head, but that's just there. So as we always do, we're going to be picking some of the biggest rivalry games this week, and it is rivalry weekend in college football. So it'll be very exciting and fun to listen to and have just be exciting. So Desmond, you are 1-10 on your upset watch, and you've picked A&M. So hopefully you'll get to 2-10. I am 4-7 right now, and you'll hear my upset later on. So it is Thanksgiving, and since we are our family and everything, we're welcoming in Desmond's nephew, Brendan, into the show. He's going to pick the games with us. He's just going to give us a pick. He's not necessarily going to give us a score prediction, but we're glad to have him. Hello, Brendan. Good to see you.
Hello.
And
good to see you.
And we're glad you're joining us on this November the 21st, day before Thanksgiving. So we'll just get right into this. So the first game is Tennessee and Vanderbilt. This is the Tennessee State rivalry. Desmond, it's a big game in the Smoky Mountain State, and since this is going to decide who goes bowling between Tennessee and Vanderbilt, I think it'll be the same result as a few years ago. Commodores win at home, 35-23. Vanderbilt wins over the Tennessee. Desmond, what do you have?
Well, George, these teams both have like the same record, coming from the same conference, but I agree with you. Tennessee wins 28-24. Definitely a close game.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the black sheep here. They're both 5'6". It'll definitely be an interesting game, but I'm gonna have to go with Tennessee for that one.
Okay, good pick. And Desmond, I said Vanderbilt, not Tennessee, so I'm the.
I know. When I said it, I was like, dang it.
Well, you know what?
I meant to say I'm opposing you.
You both are. So hopefully mine will be right over y'all's. I'm just saying, but
okay, George.
A little confident.
So moving ahead into a game here in Fort Worth, or just outside of Houston, in Fort Worth, Oklahoma State takes on TCU. TCU is trying to pull around. They were 4-6 3 weeks ago, and they're trying to become 6-6 and get to a bowl game, but they have to face Cowboys of Oklahoma State. Cowboys are looking really good after that upset over West Virginia, but I think TCU cannot. TCU's going to make it close, but don't have enough. 45-41, same score as last week that Oklahoma State won by. So Oklahoma State 45-41. Desmond?
I definitely agree with what you said. You said it perfectly. You said that TCU will keep it close, but they won't be able to win. 42-38, Oklahoma State.
I agree with that. I think it'll be a very close game, but I do think in the end, Oklahoma State's going to go home with that dub.
Good pick. So we're halfway across. We're all across the board on Oklahoma State, so that means TCU's going to win. Using the Kirk Herbstreit knowledge there.
Naturally.
Exactly. And in the biggest game of the week, which is I think the only top 10 matchup this week.
Yeah, but is it really a top 10 matchup?
That's what I was about to say. Is game day's there, but this is going to decide the other division of Big Ten, Michigan and Ohio State. The game, Harbaugh and his khakis find a way to beat these Buckeyes that should not even be the top 10.
Exactly.
34-27 Wolverines. Desmond, what about you?
Well, George, without doubt, Michigan's just too overpowered for Ohio State. 38-21. This was going to be my upset pick. I thought about to like a couple weeks ago when Michigan, excuse me, they blew someone out. Who was it? I think it was like
Oh, they blew.
Was it Penn State?
Yeah, Penn State, 42 to
Yeah,
7.
like, we were like, wow, this team's for real.
Yeah.
But definitely Michigan's gonna win this one.
I agree with you. I just think I actually considered that as my upset.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ohio State's too unpredictable, but Michigan has just been solid the last 11 weeks. Brendan, what about you?
Yeah, no, I agree with both of you there. I mean, Michigan is just a tank of a team. I mean, it's a full armada versus a BB gun there. I believe.
That is a great analogy. That is I'll have to start using that one. That's a great analogy. So you got Michigan?
Yes, sir.
Good pick. In our fourth game of this 5 for 5 here, to decide the Big 12, we've got the showdown in Morgantown, West Virginia. Oklahoma, West Virginia, and
Your Thomas was your upset pick.
And Kyler Murray and Will Greer. Desmond, you're actually going to be wrong. I'd like to see an old-fashioned showdown, but I'm going to have to side with Kyler Murray and the Sooners. Boomer Sooner, 48-41. So a good old-fashioned shootout in the Big 12. So give me a Red River rematch in the Big 12 championship game. Oklahoma, Texas.
That will be a game I definitely will watch. OU Texas again.
So what do you got? OU by how much?
By 7. Definitely, it's gonna be one of those Big 12 matchups. High scoring game. 49-42. Kyler Murray, baby, goes on with the win.
And I'm gonna have to side with everyone else again. I'm gonna say Oklahoma, but I do think it's gonna be we're all on the edge of our seats watching the fourth quarter of that game.
Oh yes, agreed. I think that's a Friday game too. So that's that's Friday night. Friday night lights in Morgantown. So you'll get to get that food coma out. You have the Thanksgiving food coma, and you have to work it off by watching all that TV on Black Friday. So we'll get a good show then there. And finally, in our last 5 for 5, before we get some quick picks and quick rivalry picks. BYU takes on Utah in the Holy War. This game has been played since, I think, the 1950s, but this is the first time since 2013 that it's going to be regularly played until 2021. And all of you have been waiting. This is my upset. Utah is literally limping into this game. They've lost their starting quarterback, their starting running back. I think their starting receivers hurt. They will play for the Pac-12 championship in a week. And they won't compete in that game either. They won't compete in this game. They get steamrolled at home. Mind you, this game's in Salt Lake City, and they'll get destroyed. Cougars get a big win in the Holy War, 42-17. So not just an upset, a confident upset. Desmond, what do you got?
Well, okay. I have Utah winning this game, 35-21. I didn't really care about any of these teams, but I just think Utah will beat BYU. Even though BYU has a sick mascot who I love watching. You ever watched that mascot before?
Yeah, what's his name?
It's like Corso the Cougar or something like that.
No, it's Cosmo. Cosmo the Cougar.
Cosmo, yes. I love that mascot.
Yeah, with the flips and the
dancing. I love it.
So what was your score prediction on that, Desmond?
35-21.
Okay. What about you, Brendan?
See, me personally, I'm a big BYU fan, so I'm with you there. I think BYU's definitely gonna win that game. I mean, Utah just hasn't played strong all season.
Thank you for siding with me on that one. I think I really think BYU just they've been up and down, but they've been good when they have to be. And Utah is just struggling.
We'll see about this, George.
Desmond, do you really think Utah's going to win the Pac-12? Be honest.
No.
Thank you. So if they can't win the Pac-12, they're not going to win. They're not going to beat BYU. So we're just going to throw that out there. So the quick picks we've got here, we have 9 games we're going to be picking here, and they're all really cool rivalry games. So I'll say the rivalry, and then I'll say who the teams we have. So
Brandon's got to go. So.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Brendan, for joining us. Appreciate it.
It was an absolute pleasure.
So Desmond and I will just pick these last few games here. So Desmond, Arizona State and Arizona. It's the duel in the desert. They also call it the Territorial Cup because this where they play used to be a territory at one point. We'll just throw it out there because that's geography. I got Arizona State close.
Woo! Let's go, baby.
What about you?
I
I
agree.
hope.
Don't you dare sleep on my small score, George. Arizona State wins this game.
Okay. I'm siding with you on this one only because Kevin Sumlin is trash in November, and he has literally been trash at Arizona in November. He was horrible at A&M. Okay, he just cannot win in November at all. So he can win in December if he really wants to, but he can't win in November. So go give me the Sun Devils. Give me anyone who's playing against someone. So Sun Devils, and if they were playing LSU, if A&M or someone was still at A&M, give me LSU. Purdue and Indiana. This is a bowl eligibility showdown. Like, each team, whoever wins is going to be bowl eligible. They play for the Old Oaken Bucket. It's a big oak bucket. I got Purdue. What about you?
I agree. I have Purdue too.
Yeah, I think Purdue. Indiana is had a chance against Michigan and just couldn't get it done. Same thing with Purdue. Had a chance to knock off Wisconsin, but lost in triple overtime. But I think that's the one that Purdue will. That's going to be why Purdue wins, because they lost in overtime, whereas Indiana just couldn't get it done. In the Sunshine Showdown, Florida State. I don't even know why I decided to put this one as one of our rivalry games. Florida will win, and it will probably be like by 35. I mean, Florida State's awful this year. Awful. What about you?
Yeah, without a doubt, George. Florida's just going to cream this team.
I said in my notes, it's going to be over at halftime, and I think that's not an exaggeration. Then we have the clean old-fashioned hate. That's between the Stingham Yellow Jackets and the Bulldogs, Georgia Tech, Georgia. I think Georgia's going to have trouble with that triple option, but I don't see an upset. I think it'll be close, but Georgia Tech's going to be leading most of the game, and Georgia will stun them at the end. So go Georgia, go Bulldogs.
I definitely have Georgia winning this game. They're strong. They're still in the contention for the college football playoffs. So I have them killing Georgia Tech.
And okay, so then on Friday, in the game we were just kind of mentioning, Washington and Washington State in the Apple Cup. Washington State has not done so good in this rivalry in the last 4 years. They're 0-4, so that means Washington's 4-0. This one's in Pullman, Washington, at Washington State. I've got Wazoo in overtime. Go Cougs.
Yeah, I have Washington State winning this game. I think it'll definitely be close, but I think Washington has just been too inconsistent this year.
Yep, agreed. For the Paul Bunyan Axe, Minnesota and Wisconsin, they're going to be playing in Madison, and they're going to jump around a lot. Wisconsin keeps the Axe, and it will not be close.
Without a doubt, Wisconsin's going to win this game.
Moving forward to our I can't count our seventh game of this little quick picks section, the Palmetto Bowl. That's between South Carolina and Clemson. Clemson will roll into the ACC championship still undefeated, but it will be closer than the experts think. Go Clemson.
Yeah, Clemson's going to win this game. Even though I want to see them lose, they're definitely going to win this game.
Yeah. I think if it was at South Carolina, we could be for a really potential chance for an upset because it's in Death Valley in Clemson. Yeah, not. It will be close, but not as close. Like it will maybe be 10 points, but not like a 1-point game or something like that. In the coolest name I could find, we have the Battle on the Bayou. That's between ULL, the Raging Cajuns, and ULM, the Warhawks, the Monroe Warhawks. I think the Warhawks win just because ULM, when we saw them at Kyle Field, they looked good, and ULL has not looked really good. So go Warhawks. What about you?
That's what I base mine off of. ULM looks good at Kyle Field. I have them winning this game.
Nice. And
I think this is the first time where all our picks are the same board.
I'm pretty sure unless you pull off some sort of upset here in this last one.
Most of these games are pretty straightforward.
I think so too, but again, it is rivalry week, and so anything can happen in these games because this is the team that you've wanted to beat the most. in the whole season. You look down your schedule and you look to the slate and you're like, okay, I want to beat this team. This is our rival. This is a team we do not like. So we're picking these because I think we're picking the favorites in all of them. Maybe not necessarily Purdue and Indiana. I think Indiana is the favorite, but
Purdue has played against some good teams.
Yeah, and they beat Ohio State, so there's that.
Exactly.
But before we finish up here, our final game is the Iron Bowl, and everyone should be familiar with the Iron Bowl. But if you aren't, it's Auburn, Alabama. This one's in T-Town in Tuscaloosa. Is it an understatement to say that the over/under for Alabama will be put at 40?
40?
Yeah. I would say I think the final score of this game is going to be like 40-14. It's going to be bad. Alabama wins big. Going to the SEC championship game, ready to get a good showdown between Georgia and them.
Without doubt.
So you got Alabama, I would assume?
Yes.
Big, or will it be close?
I think it'll be like 35-17.
Okay. That's close, but not like super close, but that's still a pretty good game. Okay, and before we wrap up here on this Thanksgiving episode, UNT, my small school, my small school is doing better than your small school. UNT did beat FAU on Thursday night last week. What?
You don't play anybody.
Well, you know what? They're 8-3, and they're looking to be 9-3 against UTSA. They're going to go to the Heart of Dallas Bowl, pretty good bowl. They're projected to play BYU right now, so that will be a nice game. I just want to say, I picked the right school. I'm rooting for them next year as well. I think I told you, I said they weren't going to win the championship. The Conference USA championship this year is probably going to be Louisiana Tech, and right now it's going to be UAB who's going to win the Conference USA, but I think UNT's done enough to get themselves in a position for a pretty good bowl game. And going just to Dallas, where they're in Denton, it's not too far. Good bowl game. What about Arizona State and Sun Devils? I know they lost to Oregon, and they shouldn't have lost to Oregon.
Too. But the next game's against Arizona, big rivalry game. At the year, they've outscored all their opponents 328-260. So not bad of a year. It tells you how close those games have been that they lost in. But yeah, we'll have to see what they do against Arizona next week.
I would assume a win. I think that will be a win.
Yeah. Without that.
What about Desmond? I forgot to mention before we get here. Brendan, what did he have on Texas Tech and A&M? Did he go with the A&M favorite and Texas Tech favorite, or does he got against those?
No, he said that. Yes, he does.
So A&M and Tech?
A&M and Tech.
Okay. So we wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving, and we will have a special conference championship episode next week. We'll preview those games as well as the games that were postponed from the hurricane earlier in the season. We got a few games, so it won't just be conference championships. And then we will have a special bowl episode that following day on the Sunday or Monday, depending on when the bowls come out and when we can get a podcast episode ready. We'll preview the bowl games, some of the games we really want to see where if Texas Tech is bowl eligible, where they end up, where A&M ends up as well, since they are bowl eligible. But signing off and wishing you a very happy Thanksgiving. I'm George Koff in Houston, and Desmond in Richmond, just a few minutes south of Houston, saying so long. This has been the fifth quarter. Gig 'em Aggies, Wreck 'em Tech, and adios.